Okay, so why was Martin Van Buren a one-term president? Well, let's get into that. So first thing is the politics of slavery. Slavery became a tremendous issue. Of course, you had people that wanted to get rid of it, which were called abolitionists, and other people that wanted to keep it. So you had the North and the South um, at each other about that issue. And so the nominating process. Starting in 1832, the major political parties had developed nominating conventions to choose their candidates. Um, Martin Van Buren was Andrew Jackson's vice president, and he was unanimously chosen in the convention. But his arch rival was a man named John C. Calhoun, who seek to discredit him because John C. Calhoun was a Southern slave-owning Democrat. And so, while Martin Van Buren was not. So the South was kind of scared that Van Buren would be nominated, and Calhoun was able to stir up trouble because Southerners were increasingly alarmed by the rise of Northern anti-slavery sentiment. And the nominating process shows that, as the Democratic Party was split between pro-slavery and anti-slavery factions. So Van Buren was a smart man. He shrewdly seized on this conflict between abolitionists and their opponents to express his pro-Southern sympathies. He promised that if he was elected president, he would not allow any interference in Southern domestic institutions. So here is a presidential candidate capitulating to the Southern slavery establishment to tell them that, hey, if you elect me, everything is going to be okay. Elections and panics. So let's talk about some things happening with Martin Van Buren. By 1836, the party apparatus was sufficiently developed to give Van Buren a shot at the presidency. In other words, the politics of the situation were done in a lot of what you call backroom deals, where you have people making decisions in the background. And by 1836 election, Van Buren is a presidential candidate that is basically chosen by that method. The Whigs, though, they built their state-level organizations and newspaper loyalty. They really didn't have a top contender with nationwide support, but they did have regional contenders. When Van Buren took office in March of 1837, the financial markets were already panicking, and by April, right after he becomes president, the country was plunged into crisis. The causes of this were bad harvests, trade imbalances, downturn in cotton prices, the prices of stocks, and the prices of real estate fell. And so I think about Van Buren and I think about Herbert Hoover you're a president being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's very frustrating to be a president and all of a sudden have a financial crisis on your hands that you didn't cause, but yet people blame you for. And so in the election of 1840, it was pretty clear that we were not going to have a Democrat in the office. The Whigs chose a war hero named William Henry Harrison, and somebody that could restore order and also just restore the greatness of America after, 3 years of financial panic. And so and so here's a fun cartoon of Martin Van Buren right here. Basically losing his the panic of 1837 affecting him and America as well. So that does it for chapter 11, and we look forward to chapter 12.